Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. Our lead story for today. Bus driver shot dead in KZN armed robbery, passengers robbed, newborns held at gunpoint. In the early hours of a seemingly ordinary Monday morning, the 12th of May 2025, a wave of terror swept through Buffelsdraai, a community nestled near Verulam in KwaZulu-Natal. What began as a routine bus journey soon descended into a nightmare of violence and loss, leaving a community reeling and a family mourning. This is the story of a bus driver, an unsung hero of the roads, whose life was tragically cut short in a brazen act of armed robbery. The bus, a lifeline for many in the area, was making its usual route when it was ambushed by a group of armed men. These weren't just petty thieves, they were calculated criminals who had disguised themselves as ordinary passengers, blending in with the everyday commuters. As the bus trundled along Buffelsdraai Road, the men revealed their true intentions, brandishing 9mm pistols and turning the vehicle into a scene of chaos and fear. According to reports, there were approximately 20 passengers on board, their lives instantly thrown into turmoil. Among them were two newborn babies, their innocence juxtaposed against the sudden eruption of violence. The robbers, showing no mercy, began to systematically rob the passengers of their valuables, their every move fueled by greed and disregard for human life. In a horrifying escalation, the robbers opened fire, their bullets finding their mark on the bus driver. He was struck in the chest and abdomen. The force of the impact left all passengers engulfed with fear and shock. The driver, a man whose name is now etched in the community's memory, was left critically wounded, his life hanging in the balance. The immediate aftermath was a scene of pandemonium. The bus, now without a steady hand at the wheel, careened off the road, crashing into dense vegetation on the roadside. Passengers, traumatized and fearing for their lives, scrambled to escape the vehicle, their cries mingling with the sounds of distress. Amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. A passerby, witnessing the unfolding tragedy, bravely intervened. He rushed to the aid of the critically injured driver, quickly transporting him to a nearby hospital in a desperate attempt to save his life. While the extent of his injuries was not immediately clear, medical teams worked tirelessly to provide urgent care. Meanwhile, the assailants, having wreaked havoc and stolen what they could, made their escape on foot, disappearing into the surrounding area. Reaction Unit South Africa, RUSA, officers swiftly arrived at the scene, launching an extensive search for the gunman, but their efforts proved futile. The suspects had vanished, leaving behind a community gripped by fear and a crime scene that painted a grim picture of the violence plaguing the region. Tragically, despite the efforts of the passerby and the medical team, the bus driver succumbed to his injuries shortly after arriving at the hospital. His death sent a wave of grief and anger through the community, transforming the narrative from one of robbery to one of murder. The bus driver, who had been simply going about his daily routine, had become the latest victim of South Africa's escalating crime crisis. The incident on Buffelsdraai Road is not an isolated one. Cash-in-transit heists and armed robberies are a disturbingly common occurrence in South Africa, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. These crimes are often characterized by extreme violence, with perpetrators showing a callous disregard for human life. The reasons behind this trend are complex and multifaceted, rooted in socio-economic inequalities, high unemployment rates, and the proliferation of illegal firearms. In many communities, poverty and lack of opportunity create an environment in which crime becomes an attractive option for some. Desperate individuals, struggling to make ends meet, may turn to robbery and other illicit activities as a means of survival. The lure of quick money, coupled with a sense of hopelessness, can drive individuals to commit acts of violence that have devastating consequences. The availability of illegal firearms further exacerbates the problem. South Africa has a long history of gun violence, and the illegal firearms market is thriving. These weapons, often smuggled across borders or stolen from legitimate owners, end up in the hands of criminals, empowering them to carry out their nefarious activities with greater ease and impunity. The culture of violence in South Africa also plays a role. Years of apartheid and political unrest have left a legacy of trauma and aggression. Violence has become normalized in some communities, with individuals resorting to it as a means of resolving conflicts or asserting power. This normalization of violence contributes to the high rates of crime and makes it difficult to break the cycle. In response to the escalating crime crisis, the South African government has implemented various measures, including increasing police presence, strengthening law enforcement, and tightening gun control. However, these efforts have had limited success, and crime rates remain stubbornly high. Community policing initiatives have also been launched, aimed at fostering collaboration between the police and local residents. These initiatives seek to empower communities to take ownership of their safety and security, working in partnership with law enforcement to prevent crime and address its root causes. However, community policing is not a panacea. It requires trust and cooperation between the police and the community, which can be difficult to achieve in areas where there is a history of mistrust and strained relations. It also requires adequate resources and support from the government. The loss of the bus driver is a tragedy that will be felt deeply by his family, friends, and the community he served. His death is a reminder of the human cost of crime and the urgent need for action. As South Africa mourns the loss of another innocent life, it must also recommit itself to building a safer and more just society for all. The investigation into the robbery and murder is ongoing, and authorities are urging anyone with information to come forward and assist in bringing the perpetrators to justice. The community of Buffelsdraai, and indeed the entire nation, deserves nothing less. Thank you for watching this news video. We'd love to hear what you think about this story, so please leave your comments below. We read them all and appreciate your insights. Join us again in our next strange story. Until then, goodbye.